Hey there, welcome back to the Great Canadian Blueprint. I'm Ian, and today we're diving into a tale of two timbers, square timber and lumber. Two timbers that powered Canada's 19th century economy and built the nation we know today. We're talking massive logs squared by hand for Britain's ships versus sawn boards that raised cities like Ottawa. This is the story of how Canada grew from frontier camps to a $33 billion timber industry that still thrives in 2025. As a real estate agent from Hamilton, Ontario, I'm unpacking the economic, social, and real estate shifts that shaped our country from the 1800s to now. Let's get into it and see how square timber's raw hustle and lumber's lasting legacy define Canada's past and present. Back in the 19th century, timber was Canada's economic heartbeat, but it ran on two tracks: square timber and lumber. Square timber, huge hand-squared logs, sailed off to British shipyards, while lumber, sawn boards, and planks built homes, railways, and cities here and abroad. Square timber ruled the 1800s. These logs, 20 to 40 feet long, were squared by hand with broad axes. Breakbacking work that took 6 hours per log and left 30% of the wood as scraps. But the payoff was massive. In the 1850s, a raft of 2,000 timbers fetched $12,000, about $400,000 today. By 1900, as pine dwindled, that value soared to $100,000 per raft. Britain devoured them for ships, especially after Napoleon's 1806 blockade that choked Baltic supplies. In 1864, Quebec shipped 20 million cubic feet of square timber, mostly from the Ottawa Valley. It was a gold mine. By the 1860s, there's estimates that Canada's timber exports hit $10 million in a year, or $250 million in today's dollars, with 5,500 men employed in 1869, just squaring logs. Hewers, the skilled hands doing the squaring, pocketed $2 a day, double the norm. But it was fragile. Work stopped in summers, tied to winter logging and spring rafting. These logging camps were rough, though. Dirt floors, no plumbing, 20 men crammed in a shanty eating pork and beans. They didn't build towns, they faded when the trees did. Reliance on Britain stunk too. Exports crashed from 20 million cubic feet in 1864 to 5 million by 1900 as demand waned. Waste was rampant. 30% of each log lost. Knotty boards ditched, piling up fire risk. Still, square timber poured millions into Canada's coffers and put it on the global stage. Lumber was a slow burn that stuck. These sawn boards built Canada. Think homes, schools, and railway ties. Early sawmills were simple. Water-powered single-blade rigs cutting 1,000 board feet a day. By the 1840s, though, innovation brought steam-powered circular saws and gang saws, which jacked that up to 10,000 board feet daily. In 1851, Upper Canada had over 1,500 sawmills with over 3,500 workers. In addition, Lower Canada had another 1,000 with an additional 3,500 workers. Mills needed fixed spots near rivers or rails, so towns sprang up. Money flowed steadily. The 1854 Reciprocity Treaty cracked open U.S. markets, pushing lumber exports. Locally, it fed Canadians' growth. Mills like E.B. Eddie's and Hull churned out 75 million board feet a year by the 1870s. Outpacing square timber. Setting up a mill cost a pretty penny, but it paid off with stable jobs and real communities. In Hull, Eddie's 680 workers by 1874 lived in company cottages. Bytown boomed from 7,000 people in 1850 to 14,000 by 1861. Land values exploded. A $50 lot in 1840 hit $500 by 1860. Then $5,000 by 1900. These towns had life. Stores, churches, and schools brought a community that was unlike what you would get at a normal camp. The downside? Cramped housing and $1 daily wages, half what hewers earned. Innovation and technology turned the tide. Early mills leaned on water. Steam power post 1840 ran them year-round, burning sawdust for fuel. Circular saws sliced at 2,000 feet per minute. Gang saws multiplied output, and by the 1890s, double-edged span saws cut cleaner, slashing waste. Lumber prices fell in half from the 1830s to the 1870s, sparking urban sprawl. Steam and saws made mills industrial anchors, growing towns where camps couldn't. By 1900, the timber industry hit $33 million, worth $1 billion today, with lumber exports reaching $50 million by 1920. Sawmill scaled up. Electric saws and mechanized logging in the 1930s cut costs more. The Great Depression crushed demand, but World War II brought it back. Lumber for barracks, ships, and crates. By 1950, Canada topped global lumber exports with 3 billion board feet a year. Tech kept evolving. Tractors replaced horses, chainsaws outpaced axes. The industry weathered booms and busts, cementing its role. Now, Canada's timber industry clocks in at $24 billion, employing 200,000 people. British Columbia is the heart. Mills like Canfors and Prince George pump out 1 billion board feet annually. It's not the 1800s anymore, though. Sustainability rules. Straight up clear cutting is fading away, with selective logging and replanting as the new standards. The Forest Production Association of Canada says 90% of harvested areas are reforested, backed by certifications like FSC. If you take a look back, square timber was mostly a cash grab. Export heavy, wasteful, no lasting footprint. It hired thousands but left forests scarred and no towns behind. Lumber built Canada. Literally, sawmill towns like Hull and Bytown grew into cities. Land values leaping from $50 to $5,000 per lot. Camps tended to attract lone workers, while towns drew families, shifting the social fabric. Both had flaws, but both had their place. So rewind to the 1850s. Would you take the rugged freedom of a logging camp or the rooted life of a sawmill town? Thanks for joining me on the Great Canadian Blueprint. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and catch you on the next chapter of Canada's Wild History.